that's painful to hear, but I think that's how you get better. This is a good little sheet that I have. The guy, Mike Neighbors, has situation cards. I don't know if you guys know.
Yes.
But those are fantastic. I couldn't find mine, which shows how dedicated I am. But I think that's what I got. I'm sure I missed a lot of this stuff. And this is a cool little sheet where you can go in each day and circle things and come up with a different scenario. Yeah, some, yeah.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
All your first games?
All the post games. All the post games.
What did you find, I'm just asking, what did you find was the reason that you were losing close games last 5 minutes? Like, we do the same thing, we look back and we're like, what were some of the common things that you didn't do?
Players suck. I think where we've gotten better is we've done a better job controlling the ball. I heard, what's his name? Used to be a head coach at Marquette, then was at USC. Defensive guru. Kevin O'Neill was up at Buzz's and he said, if you're up 7 with 3 to play, you should never lose. And I kind of took that to heart, and we evaluated where we were with that. So, and not to say we've never done that, but if we're up 7 with 3 minutes to play, I think you're gonna have to do some serious stuff to beat us. So we've done better with a lead, and then coming from behind, I think fits what we do, because we pressure and we can come and trap you. But I would say the biggest place that we've had to improve is here. And we've lost, that wasn't the first game we had lost, when we lost that Final Four game because of the free throw line. And what we did was we started, we played one and goes, so I would shoot the ball. There's one team inside, one team outside, so you box out, and you rebound and you play possessions. You might play offense, defense, offense, or maybe you play till somebody scores. We started doing that starting from the free throw line. So we start with the free throw, and they've got to get the free throw. You know, you can put guys up there that are going to miss. But even if they don't, you're practicing taking the ball out. But that's really helped us. So we start on the free throw line. But that's kind of where we've gone.
Late game, is your personnel the same up in a close game or down? Or is there, you got a different 5 guys you'd rather have in there with the lead than if you're behind?
So I think that's where the NBA's figured stuff out, is the lineups. And I think we all have a hunch of who our best lineups are. But we've started really digging into our lineups and how efficient they are. And we want our best, most efficient lineup in at the end of the game. And then we do have a free throw team. We have a press team, but we have that for not just end of the game, but we'll kind of at some point in the game giving you way too much. We'll bring our press team in and we'll really get after it. We call it checking their chin. So we're going to see if you can actually handle some adversity.
So you do that, like Coach Wainwright told me that he got this from Coach Williams from Buzz, said that like, they only work on out of bounds plays with 5 guys. They have out of bounds, so if there's out of bounds, those 5 guys are in the game. Doesn't care when it is, they're in the game. He has different 5 for different situations, like anytime, I mean, I can't even fathom this. Like he said they work on out of bounds plays with 5 guys, screw everybody else. You 5 guys are the ones taking it out. So you don't care what point in the game, you 5 guys are you the ones taking it out. Do you do that as well?
Yeah, got time for one more story. So I'm gonna take some credit for this shit. So we're playing at Pittsburgh, and Buzz is keeping all his stats, right? And I've been trying to convince him that we needed to change up our out of bounds under defense. Whether we were going zone or zone to man, I wanted to zone to man and make that change. And he kept, no, I was just going to play man to man. So we give up 18 points to Pittsburgh on out of bounds plays. And at that point, he's like, all right, I'm listening. So we started doing the zone, we call it red, stole it from Vanderbilt. So we call it red, so it's zone, and everybody's got a zone that they're covering, and after the first couple of cuts, you're matching up. So it's zone to man, and when they throw it in, we're man-to-man. Buzz, like he does sometimes, got just crazy about it. Like, we're gonna, he wants to think like a football coach. That's really what Buzz wants to do. He wants to think like, he meets with all these football coaches. He's like, yeah, this is gonna be a real special teams. So it was the year after I left, and he went to that deal where he had 5 guys. And what it did, some of those guys didn't play a whole lot. So it gave them a chance like to put them in the game more often.
Right.
And as soon as the ball came in, those other dudes were going back to check back in. Now Jeff Reynolds, who came later, convinced him not to do that because you ended up at some critical times with guys that sucked in the game. And but they were playing Davidson in the NCAA tournament. So Davidson's one of the best at out of bounds under offense. So every time there's an out of bounds under, Buzz is screaming at the clock, subs, subs. And those 5 guys are coming in to play the special teams. And Bob McKillop was pissed because they were delaying the game. You know, he wanted to run his play. And but that was the last year Buzz did that. He was like, I think Jeff convinced him like, hey, this is doing a little more damage than it is good.
That was my thought too. Coach Wainwright, we talked on the phone. If you know Coach Wainwright, man, he talked for a while. We talked for an hour and a half. That's what I needed to do. And I was like, Coach, we won but 3 games this year so far. I don't know if this will help, you know.
What do you do when somebody, when one of those 5 guys is fouled out?
Shit, what I this didn't matter this year. I don't know how much. Mark, it was just potluck.
Do you chart intervals of time? So you've got these targets that you want. Do you ever chart intervals of time, like this 5 minutes, we want to be ahead, next 5 minutes, as opposed to them always looking at score? We want to win this next 5 minutes.
Yeah, we do that for every media. So that board, yesterday I said, fuck that guy, and he was like, there's a YouTube assistant, fuck that guy. He was talking about Shirts. But Shirts stolen Buzz's board and then told the NBA guy that it was his board. I love Shirts, don't get me wrong. He was my assistant for 7 years, so I can say fuck that guy. So we have a board that tracks it from media to media, and it tracks the score, whether we won or lost that media, paint touch, box touch. What else is on our board? Somebody talked about it last night. We've got 4 things on the board. Rebounding, so if we got out rebounded, or how many offensive rebounds, our offensive rebounds, their offensive rebounds, that's what it is. And then I think turnovers. So every media, that board drops into the huddle. And I talk to them, and then I look down, and they know the numbers well enough to know if the paint touch numbers and box touch numbers are off, then the score is gonna reflect that. And they learn how to process all that.
Going back to
No.
one of the first things.
Fuck no.
This is a strategy.
John, I'm done.
No, we have time for one more question.
Scholarships on the table. So, when you build your call, pass the cake, whatever, you do that preseason.
Yeah. Like first week they're on campus.
Okay, so do you have follow-up to that action or that session during the year? And what does that look like?
Yeah, we, so I kind of hold it, it would be good to follow it up, like periodically, and just see where everybody's at. I kind of only do it when I remember, which is usually when there's a team problem. So when we do have a team problem, I bring them in, I circle the chairs, I bring in the ball, and they kind of get in that mode. All right, what's going on with our team? And it gives them a chance to kind of bend. But with that, with passing the cake, like you got to be careful because there's some stuff, some deep dark stuff that you don't know about the players that comes out. We always debated like maybe we don't need to know some of this stuff. I mean, maybe we need to call the police on some of this stuff.
Thanks, Bart.
Yep.
So just one point of clarification. Actually, last year, I don't know what you did, but what I asked you to do was tell me what gave your press problems, because I was trying to beat some pressure defense, and I wanted you to give up your secret. So you said, basically, what you want me to do is tell people how to beat me. And so, at any rate, that was good stuff. We're gonna go next to Rob Burke, who's gonna talk a little bit about recruiting.
Yeah. You guys need any stuff on the board before I erase it? Anybody need any stuff?
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Are there any copies of Bart's stuff floating around?
The stats, being able to advance the ball, I think better to argue for volleyball. There are so many guys. It's more that, they will go against the stats to not look at it. Because look at baggage. And you know how it is, perception shit, like, it may be 70-30,
Yeah,
but if you're looking bad, they're gonna go with the 30.
that's true.
We basically have two options here, either frigid or a little warm. Was everybody okay temperature-wise?
Hey, I'm
I'll start off. Yeah,
so.
I'm gonna start off with a story, a recruiting story with you.
Oh, really?
You too, you gotta correct me if I'm right or wrong when it does. Excuse me. Well, we had one sitting out at 6'9". And then.
Which is one guy on staff keeping all that stuff on the bench.
No, we do that, and one guy only doing the magic.
You should try that drill.
I will. It's like war on the free throw line. I like it.
We do. Your team will get tough right now, which I know your team is no problem tough, but I miss.
If I critical of myself, that's the biggest thing I need to work on is being more consistent with our rebounding.
Our kids, they run a 7 for every offensive rebound you give up in a game. Can't stand the shit. We've been top 10 to say rebound. So what we do in practice, we do free throw things like you work. But like if you make, we go to 11, you make the free throw off, so it's green versus black. Say green's the free throw line. And make free throw, they get 1. You get off the rebound, they get 4. And if they get an offensive rebound put back, they can get 6. So defense, you gotta get 11 rebounds before they get to 11. So if green makes 11, we do it every day. So if green makes 11 free throws, and you lose, we do it every day. And like, I'll get pissed off at our guards because they're schooled by our 6'9" kids that are D1 football players. So they won't rebound. So sometimes I'll put all the bigs in black and all the guards in green and say, they're them rebound.
On that free throw screen.
Oh, dude.
I don't know, I just don't think that he.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Everybody ready? I'll get it going. I'll start off by, I'm gonna talk about recruiting, because I think it's probably, to me, it's become something I gotta do every single day. And I'll start off by telling the story. So my first job was at Limestone College. I showed up August I think it was like the 18th, 19th, or 20th. I flew back from Ireland, and my dad told me, hey, you got this job, you're going to Limestone College. Your Uncle Joe got you a job with Larry Eppley. And I walked in, Coach Eppley gives me a sheet, and it had like 45 kids' names on it. He said, there's your desk, there's your phone. I didn't have a cell phone. You're gonna live in that apartment over there, you eat in the cab. So that was my first, like, right into it, man. And to say I had been doing it before, I think really it started my freshman year, because my dad made me host and recruit Chris Hamburger. You guys might know his dad, he's in the Hall of Fame. He wasn't a very good basketball player, but he became a lifelong friend, and I don't know anything else. I've heard my dad recruit since I was yay big on a phone at the house, and the cord was stretched from the kitchen all the way to the living room. So, you know, that's kind of what I've grown up in and been around. But we played, first conference game was after January, we played Queens College. We showed up, and a guy by the name of Dreamer sung the national anthem. And then Carlos Andrade proceeded to walk out on the floor and beat our ass. And it was like, oh my goodness. A year later in that league, they had the National Player of the Year in the conference, right? So he was the National Player of the Year in the country, but wasn't even the National Player of the Year in our league. That was Jason Pryor and Carlin Ducharme. You had left to take the High Point job.
Yeah, Spencer Ross.
Yep, so like, one dude had
Carlos
started.
just finished playing last year.
So that would have been almost 20 years, close to 20 years.
He's 41.
41 years old, and he was a dude, right? So all that late game play stuff or whatnot, back then he wasn't in many of those situations, because they just had better players than everybody else. So I'll start with that, man. Like, to me, recruiting, man, it's the lifeline of your program. At the end of the day, it is the lifeline of your program. It's going to determine your success rate. The second part behind that is scheduling. But I think recruiting, you can't get to scheduling until you know who you got and what type of players you got. So recruiting, at the end of the day, is the lifeline of your program. And it is the most single effective thing on winning. Because I tried this as part of my method. I showed up, I thought I was going to out-coach everybody, and that ain't the case, man. Sometimes with Jimmys and Joes, a lot better than X's and O's. And that is something that I've had the opportunity now. This is going to be 19 total years of coaching, but I consider 22 because I felt like I was coaching in college and doing stuff in college that my dad was getting me prepared for. You know, it's being an everyday guy, man, an everyday process. The first group of guys I signed, I had to sign 8 guys, man. I had never worked anywhere before. And I got really lucky because Coach Eppley was able to guide me and whatnot, and you know, it was something where he just turned me loose. And I think the best way to learn is just falling down and getting back up, falling down and getting back up, figuring it out. And that was a big thing for me. But point 3 there, it's an everyday thing and an everyday process. Like right now for me, it's an everyday, every night process. I have to be making a call. I have to be texting somebody. My dad gets on me all the time because I'll sit over there and I get on Twitter and I'm just scrolling. But like he doesn't think so, but I'm working. I sent 7 text messages while he was telling me 4 different stories. I've hit 7 DMs. I retweeted something. So like I'm working. He's over there going, put that damn phone down. I gotta work, man. Like there is no off time in recruiting, right? It is 24/7 all the single time. And I don't like that, but I've had to buy into that because as the game has changed, kids have changed, and they operate a little bit different, man. Some kids are old school, and you're lucky to find those guys, but a lot of them are not. And what do you do when you're working on it, and how do you work on it? It's about relationships, really. At the end of the day, it's about relationships. The game was over with. I knew his assistant coach through working camp and different stuff like that. But until I saw what type of players they had, I went right up to him and I was like, hey man, like where the fuck y'all get those dudes from? Like it wasn't even funny, guys. It was men amongst boys. And so since that day, me and Nate Dixon, how many times we talked, man?
Too much.
How much?
Too much.
It ain't enough, to be honest with you. Because he to me, I think he's one of the best recruiters in the country. And over again, he's got a name, he's got a guy connected to that guy that's connected to that guy. And out of the blue, he just pulls guys out of the air sometimes. And I was like, how'd you figure that out? And the guy just works at it. That's what he does. I wouldn't say I don't know what type of X and O guy Nate is. I've never talked X and O's with him. but I know this, the guy knows how to recruit, and it's about his relationships. And so that's a big thing. You gotta build them every single day, man. You gotta build them every single day. This is how it all comes together. So my first Division I signing was Anthony Atkinson, all right? And the only reason we signed him was because Billy Lee was unbelievable in the home visit. Ants, I think he's still playing now. It's like his 18th or 19th year with the Globetrotters, but he lives in Wilson. And his next door neighbor is a guy that I'm recruiting now, who just committed to Wake Forest, which I know he's gonna decommit from Wake Forest, because that thing ain't gonna last, and the kid's gonna fall right down to our level. So that was, that whole thing, man, just having relationships. I saw Anthony, they came down and played at Wilmington, did their little Harlem Go Drive thing. We talked 45 minutes about recruiting and about that kid. And he works him out, and it's all relationships. And it's the same way back then with Anthony, who knew a guy that put us in contact with him and kind of put us there, but it was all about the relationship. And now my relationship with Anthony has continued, and I had a chance to coach him for a year, and obviously he's gone and done great things, but he now is seeing kids come up, and now my relationship with him becomes, hey man, like I gotta get in, like how do I get in? Tell me how I get in. And so it's all about your relationships. I thought this was crazy. Dad told me one time I was going to interview with Winthrop. He said, write down all your contacts from all the ways up in the Northeast, where you went to school in New Hampton, all the ways down to your Florida JUCO contacts. So I had 3 or 4 pages, and I go over there and I give my book to Coach Marshall. We start talking and whatnot, and he's like, let me hold on to this. And I like kind of dinged in my head. I was like, no, it's got all my contacts in there, because I can't leave that with you. I can't leave that with you. And he was adamant about keeping the book. And it was the back 3 pages. It was like, this guy's name, cell phone number, cell phone number, cell phone number. And then I was like, nah, Coach, I can't do that. I can't leave that book. And to me, it just dinged to me that like how valuable that information and your contacts are. So in saying that, I'll just talk about us a little bit. Kind of how we cover North Carolina, how we break it down. Doug is from Winston-Salem, so I just basically say, Doug, like, you got that whole side of the state. Obviously, Jackie played in Chapel Hill. We give Jackie to Durham and Raleigh area, whatnot, even though I know a bunch of guys there, and I call guys. We kind of just triple team the state, and then obviously I'll work the east coast of the state right there. But Doug knows guys down here. I know a couple guys out west. It all kind of comes together. And if we'll talk about it, we just say, hey, Doug, how well you know him? I've recruited a guy from him before I signed a guy. Then boom, you run with it. We have done an unbelievable job of getting out of each other's way. So first staff I've ever been on where it's not my guy, your guy. Don't call my guy, leave my guy. We work all 3 together. We have really bought into that. I just think because all 3 of us get along pretty good, and we check our egos at the door, and we don't get like he signed him or he signed him. We need some guys. Like at the end of the day, period, we need some dudes. We gotta have some guys that we all work together with. So that's kind of how we break down North Carolina. Really for the country, man, for me, I played in New Hampshire, so I played up here. I dabbled around in Virginia when I was at Limestone, and I think there's really good players there. And my dad always tell me about Northern Virginia players. Obviously, I know North Carolina. I lived in South Carolina for 13 years, and I worked 2 years in Georgia. And at all those places right there, you got to recruit that state. At South Carolina, I recruited in Texas because there's 12 military bases, and I was at the Citadel, so I know Texas. Really good junior college basketball in that state. And when I was at Citadel as well, there's a bunch of white guys up here you can put in uniforms, and they don't give a shit about marching and carrying a rifle. So that was a great area, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and they really know how to play up there. Guys really know how to play. We figured that out pretty quick. I started dabbling in Ohio because there's some guys that really know how to play there. And there's some good basketball coaches there. So really, and then we take the same kind of concept into recruiting. We signed a kid, Brian Tofrey, from Neosho Junior College. Doug had recruited and had 3 official visits from that junior college and never got those kids. And I had recruited 1 kid before and never got him. So we were 0 for 4 at Neosho. And like I just told Doug, I said, I got a good feeling about it. I don't know, just something feels good about it. Matt was connected to the previous assistant coach who coached the kid and signed him. And we just put all the dots together. We hammered it home. How long did we recruit him, Matt? at least 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least 4 months, and we worked hard at it, and didn't think we were getting him at the end, but we ended up getting him. But me and Doug kinda looked at each other like, hey man, I said, let me make a run at it. I'll make a run at it. If it don't work, it don't work. He had kinda told me, hey man, I ain't had much success out there. We've gotten right to the end and have not been able to get the kid over the hump. And so he was a little, sideways about it. I really didn't care the first time, cause you're gonna get more no's in this business than anything. At the end of the day, they're gonna say no, 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 no. You're just trying to find that one or two guys that say yes. So Jack hits Virginia pretty good. His family's from up there, his wife's family's from up there. He hits it pretty good up there. I signed Brian White, Ashton Moore, and Zane Najdawi, and one other kid, Frierson. So I signed 4 kids at the Citadel just from the state of Georgia. 2 of them ended up being 1,000-point scores. Another guy ended up being a 1,300-point scorer. So I'm connected in Virginia, and Doug really hasn't done anything in Virginia. So me and Jackie we toss around names. There's a former teammate up there that's a high school coach. Jack's got some connections up there, and we just kind of hit it and run with it, man. All you gotta do, like, there's a ton of schools up there and they're really good, but all you gotta do is find one kid. One dude that fits what you're doing and trying to fit your base. South Carolina, I was there 13 years and I really don't mess with South Carolina that much. I just don't think the basketball players are that good. That's just kind of my personal opinion. There are some guys that come out of there that end up being really good. If you say that to a South Carolina guy, he's gonna let you look at you and go, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, and Jermaine O'Neal. And he's gonna say Zion. And he's gonna say Ja Morant. You be like, all right, I get you. But after those dudes, the other guys are just okay. Georgia, I happened to spend 2 years at Georgia Southern, and it's a really hot bed over this side of the area, but throughout the whole state, there's some good junior college basketball. There's a couple coaches that I coached against in Region 10 that are now coaches down there. I think 3 out. Phil Gaffney was down there. He just took a new job. Travis Garrett and Bruce Capers. So over the years, I coached against those guys. I'm gonna turn back around and really try to use those guys and work with those guys. So it's all about relationships. I'll just talk about how many different ways to recruit. Junior college, high school and junior college, high school, prep schools, and probably the best in the country. And they got players. Like, we took a kid that couldn't start on his prep school team, and he broke the all-time Colonial Athletic assist record. Which, I mean, like, he couldn't beat a guy out on his AAU team. He was coming off the bench. So he's really, really good basketball up here, good coaches. High school for Virginia, obviously North Carolina Jukes and high school, South Carolina high school, Georgia Jukes in high school, and then obviously Florida and Texas go back and forth along with Kansas. There's 3 of the best states in the country for junior college basketball. And so you gotta know, man, you gotta look at your preps and be connected in prep schools. And I'm talking about legitimate, good, solid prep schools where guys are going to class, they're not paying to play, they're being pushed, they're being driven, they're being coached, they're being held accountable, where you know that they can come to you and make it. Obviously the junior college is gonna give you an experienced guy, a guy that's been through the ringer a little bit. He probably hadn't had but 1 or 2 pair of shoes on a year, so he's gonna be a little bit more humbler than most guys, and he just wants an opportunity and wants a chance. The one thing I have found out about junior college kids is once they go off and they eat a little shit a little bit and they didn't do their academic work, they'll turn around and be a really good student. Chris Freeman this year, he signed at Rio Grande. I don't think you guys know him, from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Like, he was not a good student coming out of high school. And he got out there to Kansas and he was out in the middle of nowhere. And he woke up real quick, man. He ended up finishing like 4.1 GPA. It was ridiculous. Like, went in the classroom and I asked him, I was like, what was the big change? He's like, you ever been out here, coach? I was like, yeah, I kind of know where you're at. I got a good idea. He was like, that's all you need to know. Because, I mean, he saw the writing on the wall. He's like, I gotta get myself out of this situation. So just kind of, that's how we break it down as a staff. And we just rip and run, to be honest with you. There's no, Coach McGrath our head coach ran camp in the state of North Carolina. There's not a guy that I can't go to and say, hey, coach, you got a cell phone number? He just starts scrolling. He says, yeah, try this one. And his phone is full of all kinds of numbers. Obviously working with Coach Williams, he recruited at a different level. How we recruit and the guys we go after are a little bit different. And Coach is still making that adjustment, which he's done a really, really good job of it. but in his phone, man, he's got a ton of numbers in his phone, so, like, use your head coach, I would say, like, ask him, hey, coach, you know this guy? Well, if he's been doing it long enough, like, Bart is gonna have numbers in his phone, that his assistants might not have, and then you might not share that number with him, but you're definitely gonna, hey, call this guy, he'll get the number for you. And that's how you gotta, as an assistant, kind of work and not feel like, hey, I don't wanna ask coach something. I mean, I'm right across the hallway from Coach McGrath. Matt tells me all the time, hey man, stop talking so much. But like, I'm just, at the end of the day, I gotta be who I am, and I gotta ask coach questions, gotta ask him different stuff. So that's kinda us and how we cover the state. I think this is huge, man. I worked for Billy Lee, Larry Epperly, Robbie Lang, myself, Chuck Drizel, Mark Byington, and now C.B. McGrath. Every single one of those guys are totally different. There has not been one dude there are any similarities. Like, Chuck Drizel is a machine in recruiting. Like, he'll walk in there and tell you, you can't spell Drizel without sell. And like, he is a salesman. He is gonna go recruit. Coach Lee was at a point in his career where he was like, he told me, he's like, roll out the red carpet, I'll come strolling down it. I mean, that was what he said to me when we signed Anthony Axon. I'll never forget it. He got out of the car and he shut the door and he's walking around the front, so I'm getting out of the little Ford Taurus, and he's like, I hope you got the red carpet rolled out, because I'm gonna come strolling down it. And he started giving that little walk, and I was like, wow, he went in there. It was one of the best home visits. I mean, I still remember that was 20 years ago. It was one of the best home visits I've ever seen anybody do. Coach McGrath is totally different from the standpoint of his demeanor, how he attacks recruiting, how he goes about it, because he looks at himself and he wants players that were like him in college and how he carried himself. If you know his story, he was a walk-on at Kansas and ended up winning a scholarship. But I think it's critical, man. You'll find out real quick what your head coach can tolerate and what he can't tolerate. And you have to curtail your recruiting towards that, right? I know my boss is not taking a call at 11:30 at night and wanting to do anything when anybody's got an issue in the dorm that's been horsing around or just doesn't know how to act in the dorm. He ain't doing that. Like the next morning say, hey, he's got to go. All right? Me, I've dealt with that before. At SMC, I would take some guys and like, you know, I get a call from the RA and they're horsing around in the dorm, they've been out messing around. Like, I can deal with that. I can manage that a little bit more. So you got to know as an assistant what your guy can tolerate and what he cannot tolerate. I knew what I could tolerate, but CB's a lot different than me, totally different than me. I had to quickly ask myself, what type of person does coach want? What type of player does coach want? First, I know this is more important to him, being a good person, than being a player. We can work on you being a player, but being a good person is first and foremost for him, right? There's guys in this business, they don't give a shit about people. They just don't, and they don't care. They don't care what they do off the floor. They're not there to better them. They're not better there to make them a better person. They want to win games. There are coaches out there like that. If you work for one of those guys, you'll figure out real quick where you stand with him as well, and then you have to operate in that realm of things. You know, like I said, what he can deal with on and off the floor. What type of student does your school require? And each situation is going to be different, and the school and the coach is going to be totally different. For us,